Allacademy. Always with you.
Hello my dear students, welcome to this online video sessions on automotive engineering. And in this subject is also known as, in some of the syllabus they have included as an automobile engineering, and in some of the syllabus they have mentioned the subject name as an automotive engineering. So almost all the content remains the same, only the title of a subject is changed. So no need to worry about all the content of a main heading of the syllabus. But the remaining, whatever the syllabus included in the chapter or the modules, that will remain same. So in this automobile or automotive engineering subject, we're going to study the complete fundamentals of an automobile engineering. We're going to study the suspension system that are used in automobiles. Then we're going to study the braking system. We're going to study the lubrications. Then the very important thing, that is, we're going to study the superchargers and turbochargers that are used in automobiles. And at the last, we're going to study the flame combustion, how the flame combustion takes place, the flame combustion technology, that we're going to study. And at the last, so the very important part, and along with that, we're going to study some of the hybrid vehicles like electric vehicle, hybrid vehicles, all those things we'll study. And in the last module, we're going to, or a last chapter, we're going to study the emission norms that are adopted by India as well as world. That we're going to study what are the different emissions, because you already know that now we are in the BS6, that is a emission standard, that is BS6, that is Bharat stage. And what is this BS6, BS1, BS2, that all things we're going to study in details in this complete automobile or automotive engineering subject. Now coming to the today's session, we're going to start with a first module or a first chapter, so which is of a basic things, that is the engine components and its principal parts, that we're going to study. And in today's session, we're going to cover the main thing, that is the introduction to automobile engineering, then basic terminologies we see, and the classification of engines, because we know that in the school days or in the lower classes we have studied only the two-stroke engine, four-stroke engine, petrol engine, diesel engine, but the classification of engines are in a wider range. So that we're going to study in details in today's session. Now, without wasting much time, let us move to the main thing. Okay. Now, so what is this the automobile? What is the actual automobile? So simple definition of automobile is a automobile is a self-propelled machine used on the ground for transportation. Means transportation of passenger or goods, we can say that, from one place to another place. It is a component, it is a self-propelled machine that is helped to transport or a transportation of people or some goods from one place to another place. So that is a simple definition of an automobile. Now what is this automobile engineering? Now I got to know the definition of an automobile. Now what is the automobile engineering actually is? The automobile engineering is the branch of engineering that deals with all the types of automobiles like car, buses, bike, trucks, jeeps, anything that runs, that is helped to the machine, that is helped to transportation. So which means by propelling them, by means of propelling. So what is automobile engineering? It is a automobile or automotive engineering is a branch of engineering that mainly deals with all the type of automobiles like car, buses, trucks, jeep, bikes, anything it might be. And it involves, the automobile engineering involves the study of these components, the designing, analysis, all the things. So that is known as an automobile engineering. Now moving to the next, that is the how this is a simple layout of an automobile. So you know that, so any automobile, if you consider, there will be a minimum some component that has to be there, but based on the design requirement, based on the applications, the automobile designs are different. But generally, if I come to the main aspect, so the basic, the thing that must be included in any automobile is, first is the very important, that is the frame has to be there, the chassis, what we call it as, that frame has to be there. Then engine should be there, because that will supply the power to the wheels, that will help to move the vehicle, or from the transportation purpose that will help to, that is the energy, the engine is the heart of a vehicle, because that supplies the energy to the wheels. Then wheel should be there, then gearbox, clutches, universal joint, differential gear, wheels, springs, or a suspension system, you can say that, rear axle and front axle, and the radiator. Radiator is nothing but comes under cooling system. That again we're going to discuss in details in the further chapters. Okay, so these are the some very basic component that we're going to see in each and every automobiles. Even if you consider the car, the wheels will be there, engines will be there, clutches, gears will be there, differential gears will be there. Okay, and even if you take in a automobiles, but there you want some components will be reduced in the two-wheelers. Directly you can see that the engine connected to wheels, then clutches will be there, gears will be there, cooling systems will be there. The same thing, everything remains same, but these are the basic components that we are seeing in each and every components, each and every automobiles. Now coming to the main aspect, so before going to the main thing, so we must have some of the engine terminologies basic, because I said no, in automobile engineering engine is a main component, because if I want to study automobile engineering, there must be engine, then only the vehicles will going to move. So we must have to have some of the basic terminologies that are used in the engine. So especially I'm concentrating on the engine. So in the previous slide we have studied what are the basic components that has to be present in any automobile, but in this here we are going to study the basic terminologies of an engine. So already you know about all these components. Spark plug is there, okay, or fuel injector. So what is a spark plug? It is a device that produces a spark that helps to burn the fuel. What is a fuel injector? It is a fuel injector which, and the very important, the spark plugs are used in petrol engines. Many students make a mistake. Many people, if you ask generally, so where the spark plug is used, where the fuel injector, so everyone say that spark plug is used in all the vehicles. No, the spark plugs are used in a petrol engines and the fuel injectors are used in a diesel engines. Please note that. So spark plug is used in the petrol engine and the fuel injectors are used in the diesel engine. Okay. Now coming to the next component, that is a cylinder head. This upper part is called as a cylinder head. Again, that these all components I will going to study in details. What kind of material is used in this one? What should be the strength? How the design should be there? That again we'll discuss in details in this module 1. Now, this is a cylinder head which has to be very much strong, because it has to withstand the pressure as well as the heat. Whenever the combustion takes place inside the cylinder, so that pressure has to be withstanded. Then coming to the next one, these are the walls. You can see here, this is an inlet wall and outlet wall. What happens in inlet wall? The air fuel mixture or the air will come into the cylinder. After the combustion, the exhaust valve opens and whatever the burnt gases are there, that will come out from the exhaust valve. Now moving to the next part, these are the bore. Whatever the inner that we are seeing, that is a bore. I can say that is a bore diameter, bore, or that is a main thing. Understood? The next one is a clearance volume. Here you can see that the minimum area that is left out, that is known as a clearance volume. And this is a stroke length, that is where the piston reaches from top dead center to bottom dead center, that is known as the stroke, that is a stroke length. Then this is a cylinder wall, okay, and this is a piston, and the whatever slots you are observing here, 2 slots, grooves, that is the grooves are kept for the piston rings. The piston rings helps us to avoid the leakage of an air fuel mixture or the combustion gases that is entering into the lower cases. Okay, so that makes a complete tight seal between the piston and the cylinder wall. Then this is a piston rod, okay, so piston rod or connecting rod, I can say that connecting rod, and this is a gut joint pin. This part is known as a gut joint pin. Okay, here also will be there connecting. So these are some of the important basic terminologies. Again, in details we're going to study all the components. What material is used for the connecting rod, what material is used for the gut joint pin, what material is used for the walls. All the things we're going to study in details in the further sessions. Now moving to the next one. So the next very important the topic that has to be covered in today's session is the classification of an engines. We all know that we know that if anybody asks what are the types of engines, we say that 2-stroke engine, 4-stroke engine, petrol engine, diesel engine. So these are the some basic, every common person will be knowing these kind. But being an engineer, coming from the technical background, we must know the different classification of an IC engine, because we are an engineers. So we must know. So as an automobile engineer, we must know what are the categories or what are the classification that has to be made in the automobile engineering. Now coming to the main thing, so the based on the combustion. So there are based on the criteria, based on the some applications, the classification has been made. Now first one is the based on combustion. Means based on combustion means where this air fuel mixture is burning out. So that based on that one, the engines are divided into two types. One is internal combustion engine and another one is a external combustion engine. So what are internal combustion engine? Where air and fuel mixture burns inside the cylinder. Okay. What are the external combustion engine? Where air and fuel mixture is burnt outside the cylinder, outside the cylinder. So okay, these are the first classification. Coming to the next one, based on the type of fuel used. Obviously, you know petrol engine. If the vehicle is using petrol, then it is a petrol engine. If the vehicle is using diesel, obviously it is a diesel. And if the vehicle is using the gaseous, then it is a gaseous engine. Like you are getting CNG, LPG. Now you are getting all the type different kinds of even hydrogen vehicles are coming out. So these are all about the based on the fuels used, based on the fuels used. And even you can say that or based on the fuel, you can based on the energy or fuel, you can say chemical in the form of battery, chemical engines. Okay. Now based on the thermodynamic cycle, that is a very important, and already the thermodynamic cycles that are used in the engines you already studied in your the applied thermodynamics subject. So Otto cycle, diesel cycle, dual combustion cycle, all these things you have studied in your applied thermodynamics, but we are not going to in details, or the derivation we are not going to do in this particular subject. Okay, it's just only classification. Now based on the thermodynamic cycle, one is the Otto cycle, diesel cycle, and the next one is a dual combustion cycle. Now moving to the next classification, that is based on number of cylinder. Okay, first one is single cylinder. So whatever the two wheelers we are having, general so small two wheelers, they will be of single cylinder. That is of single cylinder. Only one cylinder will be there. In that, complete combustion will be taking place. Now coming to the next point, in the based on the number of cylinder, that is a multi-cylinder engines. So what are these multi-cylinders? Based on number of cylinders. If you just open your car, that is car bonnet, so then you can see that there will be multiple engines, 4, 3, 5 cylinders will be there. So that is a multi-cylinder engine. Most of the heavy vehicles will comes up with a multi-cylinder. Even the two wheelers nowadays, the two wheelers are coming with a 2-cylinder engines. But generally previously it was a single cylinder. Now the heavy vehicles which are having higher CCs, they are coming with a 2 or 3 cylinders. Okay. The next method, that is next classification, based on the method of ignition. That is means how the ignition going to takes place in the cylinder. Based on that one, the classification has to be made. The first one is a spark ignition and another one is a compression ignition. So where this spark ignition takes place? The spark ignition takes place where the spark plug is present. Okay, as the name itself indicates. So what is a spark plug? So where the spark plug is placed? The spark plug is placed in the petrol engines. Now what is a compression ignition? So now the whatever the fuel is entering, or the air is entering, this is the compression engines are nothing but the diesel engines, you can say that. So what happens in diesel engine? The air fuel mixture will not come into the enter into the cylinder. Only the fresh air will enter into the cylinder from the inlet valve, and after this air is get compressed, the fuel is injected with the help of a fuel injector. That is, a diesel is injected with the help of a fuel injector, and the combustion takes place due to the high compression, that is high pressure. So that is a compression ignition system. So what is a spark ignition? It is nothing but the petrol engine. What is a compression ignition? It is nothing but the diesel engine. Now the next one, coming to the based on the number of strokes. So generally we all know that. So even we have studied in our class 10, class 11, class 12 also we have studied the engines, and even we have studied in our first year EME, that is in the first year elements of mechanical engineering, that's the engine, about the engine's components. So what are the two main classification? We call it as a 2-stroke engine and 4-stroke engine. Nowadays some of the engines have been designed for 6 strokes, 8 stroke also they are there. So based on the to have a more power, more capacity, but general classification we go with a 2-stroke and 4-stroke engine, which are commonly nowadays what we are seeing on the roads. And the next one, that is the last one, based on the position of a cylinder. This part we're going to study in details, because on this we're going to get an important definite question in an examination. So every year if you cross check the first question, there will be a question with a neat sketch, explain the cylinder arrangement or the positions of an engine cylinder positions. So this is a 10 marks question that we're going to study in details, okay, in the coming classes. Now based on the position, what is this position means? Where this cylinder is placed, how this cylinder is placed. Based on that, the engine classification is made. The first one is the inline engine, then the horizontal engine, then the V-type engine, then radial engine, then a W-type engine, rotary engine, delta engine. So these are the some few classification based on the how the engine is positioned in the complete engine arrangement. That based on that the cylinder position is the engine classification is done. And the last one is the method of cooling. So this cooling plays a very important role in any automobile engineering, because if there is no sufficient cooling, obviously there will be a less efficiency and there the failure of an engine will going to takes place. Now what is this one? So there are based on the cooling there will be two categories. One is air cooled and another one is a water or liquid cool. I can say that. Okay, it's not exactly water. I can say that a liquid cool. So water cooled engines are nothing but whatever the two wheelers we are seeing, the old two wheelers, they are just the, you can see the best example, a Splendor vehicle you just see in front of just below your petrol tank there will be an engine and there is no any cooling system based on the natural air that is flowing out when the vehicle is moving. So the engine is cooled out. And the water or liquid cooled, so these are the engines we are using some separate coolants to absorb the heat generated in the engine and that reduces the temperature of an engine. Hope you clear within a point. So these are the classification of an engines that we have studied in details, but this based on the position cylinder that we're going to study in details along with the schematic diagrams. Now here are the some of the pictures that you can easily understand the classification. Now this is the first one, that is the internal combustion engine. Here you can see this one. The combustion is taking place inside the cylinder, but here you can see this is the external combustion. This is a main fuel, air and fuel, the fuel, or you can say that the fuel mixture is burnt outside the cylinder. Here is a main cylinder, but the combustion is taking place outside the cylinder. But in this one, it is taking place inside the cylinder. This is a simple comparison that you can understand how the air fuel, the combustion taking place in the internal engine and versus external combustion engine. Now this is the next classification, that is a spark ignition and compression ignition. Here you can see this one. In a spark ignition, there is a spark is produced. Okay, spark is produced. Whereas in a compression ignition, spark ignition means it is a petrol engine. Whereas in a compression ignition, here you can see how the fuel is sprayed. It is spraying, the diesel is sprayed. Okay, in compression ignitions are used for the diesel engine. Understood? Now here are the some of the classification that is based on the engine cylinders. Okay, so I said no. So number of cylinders, based on the number of cylinders, these are classified. This is a single cylinder engine. These are the multiple cylinder. Here you can see this multi-cylinder engines. Number of cylinders are placed. And you just, if you are having a car, you just open it, the car bonnet, you can see the number of cylinders, 3, 4, 5, 6 cylinders you will going to see. And in your vehicle, you can easily observe, here you can see this one. So this is a single cylinder engine. Also hope you have got clear what is single cylinder and multi-cylinder engines. Now the very important part, and even it is very important for your examination also, because every year the one question will be asked on this particular topic, that is for 10 marks. Sure question will be sure short question, that is with a neat sketch explain the engine cylinder arrangements, or with a neat sketch explain the positions of a cylinder in the engine. So this is a very important question that is going to be asked in the examination. Now here are the some of the common list that arrangements that we are seeing in an engine cylinder arrangements. One is an inline engine, then horizontally opposite engine, V-type engine, radial engine, W-type engine, rotary engine, and delta engine. So these are the commonly used engines that we are seeing in any engine cylinder arrangements. So here are the some figures, but in details one by one we will going to study now. Now here is the first one, that is a inline cylinder arrangement. Okay, this is a first inline, as the name itself indicates, all the cylinders are arranged in a line, one line. So here you can see this inline cylinder arrangement. Now in this type of, the number of cylinders are arranged in an inline, placed side by side vertically, and all them transmit the power to a single crankshaft. And in this type, the reciprocating force is nearly balanced. Okay, what happens in this one, all the cylinders are arranged in an inline, and all the engines are supplying or producing whatever the energy is transmitted or power is produced, that is transmitted to single crankshaft. Understood? Okay. Next, moving to the next question, and in examination, for this is for your reference. This diagram is for your reference. How to understand, the animation is there to understand how this inline is arrangement. And in examination, you need to draw this diagram. Okay, and label the parts like cylinder, cylinder head, piston, connecting rod, then crankshaft. You just arrange, label all the parts, and this diagram you need to draw. No need to draw this kind of colorful drawing. If you draw just schematic this diagram, that is more than enough. Moving to the next one, so that is horizontally opposed cylinder arrangement. Now here you can see this how it will be working. So this is animation that will help you to understand how this is cylindrically working, cylindrically opposite working. Now in this type cylinder are arranged horizontally opposite to each other. That is, they are placed in a 180-degree apart facing each other with a common crankshaft. Okay, what I'm saying, with a common single crankshaft they have been placed. Now, in this type of reciprocating parts are perfectly balanced, whereas in previous case it is a nearly balanced, but here it is perfectly balanced. And this is an animation that will help you to understand or imagine how this horizontally cylinder will be working. And in the diagram, in the examination, you need to draw this diagram. Okay, this schematic diagram you need to draw it. Understood? Moving to the next question, next arrangement. That is a V-type cylinder arrangement or V arrangement. Okay. Now, in this type of arrangement, the two cylinders are placed in the axis of 60 degree, like this 60 degree. It is placed like this. The cylinders are arranged in a two arms letter like V. As I said, no V arrangement. The name itself indicates like V, and the angle between these two should be 60 degree. With a common crankcase and the crankshaft, it is more compact and rigid, and hence runs more smoothly at a high speed. The V-type arrangement is generally used when the engine has 8 or more cylinder because it can be made shorter than the inline engine. It can be made shorter than the inline engine. Understood? Now here you can see this how this will be working V-type, and as I said, no, that is 60 degree. So the angle should be there as 60 degree. This angle should be there 60 degree. And in examination, you need to draw this schematic diagram. This diagram you have to draw it and label all the parts. That will be more than enough. Okay. Moving to the next one. The next is radial cylinder arrangement or radial cylinder arrangement engine. Now in this type of arrangement, the cylinders are arranged in a radial fashion. They are arranged in a radial fashion within a common crankshaft which is placed at the center. Here you can see this one. Okay, common crankshaft placed at the center as shown in this figure. Though the number of cylinders generally are of odd numbers like 5, 7, 9, 11, like this, the odd number is maintained. Now this is to maintain. Why this odd number is taken? It is to obtain the uniform firing intervals. To obtain the uniform firing intervals, the odd number of cylinders are used. So this type of compact size and gives a higher brake power. Now why this is means this compact size gives a higher brake power per weight ratio. That is very important. Why this is what is the advantage of in a radial cylinder? If any questions or in any multiple choice if they ask, so you have to mark it. It gives a high brake power per unit ratio. And this is mainly used in a aircraft engines. Please note that this is mainly where it is used, where the radial cylinders are used. It is mainly used in the aircraft engines. Now here is a diagram animation that will help you to how this radial cylinder is working. And this diagram you have to note it down. I said no odd numbers 1, 2, 3, 5 is there. In this schematic, if you count it, it will be 7. So odd number of cylinders are used in a radial cylinder arrangement. Moving to the next arrangement. Now here are the, so in examination generally these four, if you explain their type, they say that explain any four, or with a neat sketch explain this inline cylinder. The whatever the first four I have discussed, that is inline, then V-type, horizontally opposite, radial. If you draw the diagram and explain it, that is more than enough. And if you want further, if there is a time, you can just draw these are the some other arrangements, like this is based on the it is shape only. It is say that X cylinder arrangement because it is in the form of X. Okay. Now this is a one more type, that is a rotary cylinder arrangement. You can see this. This is completely rotating. This is a rotary cylinder arrangement. Okay. The next one is W type cylinder arrangement. Here you can see this. Because of its W shape, it is known as W cylinder arrangement. Now the next one is, this is a delta cylinder, and it is also known as skeleton cylinder engine. Because of its complication shape, it is called as a skeleton engine. So no need to draw this one and explain it. Whatever the first four are there, that if you are perfect with that one, you can easily get the complete marks. And if time permits, you can draw any of this one, any of two other things to have a good impression in the examination. So hope, dear students, so whatever the topics that we have covered in today's session, that is automobile, introduction to automobile engineering, basic terminologies and the classification, and the very important topic, that is a engine cylinder arrangement. Hope it is clear to you people. If you are having any doubts, you can comment it in a comment box and I will try to clarify your doubts.
Click on subscribe button and press the bell icon to get updates from Allacademy.